Hola a todos los estudiantes, los maestros, los padres, señora Shamgoshen, Dr. DeLeo, y todas las personas aquí. Bienvenido a esta ceremonia. Students, teachers, parents, Mrs. Shamgoshen, Dr. DeLeo, and other invited guests, welcome to this ceremony. Muchas gracias por la invitación para hablar con ustedes. Thank you for this invitation to speak with all of you today. Hi everyone, my name is Madisyn Hill, and I'm a senior majoring in chemistry and minoring in biology and Hispanic Studies at UNC Chapel Hill. To be honest, when I graduated from our high school in 2014, I had no intention of becoming a Hispanic Studies minor. I chose to continue my education with Spanish because my university requires its students to study 2 years of a language. Since I had studied Spanish throughout my time at WHS, I decided to stick with a can of worms I had already opened. Now, thanks to my years of studying and experiences I had been fortunate enough to have, I understand that language is such a powerful tool, a tool that should be recognized and respected by all. If you know anything about tools, and yes, Dad, I know I'm not one to talk, you would know that they're not very useful on their own. How are you supposed to put together a desk if you don't have that flathead and X-shaped screwdriver, otherwise known as a Phillips head? And what are you supposed to do without a hammer? How useful is language if you only know one? Don't get me wrong, learning a language is difficult. Due to the way our brains develop, it is significantly harder to become fluent in a language when we are first introduced to it as young adults in junior high or high school. After I learned about the process of language acquisition and other classes I took, it finally made sense why learning and speaking Spanish is so difficult for me. Class after class, I still struggled, and I had to put in more work than some of my chemistry classes. I know, crazy. And to this day, I must continue to work hard, to write, to communicate, and to understand Spanish. So, for all of you that are taking the time to learn this new language, let me be the first to congratulate you. For once you have mastered a new language, in this case Spanish, you will have access to a whole other world beyond the one you already know. My collegiate journey with Spanish began the first semester of my first year, with Spanish 105, the dreaded accelerated program that combined both Spanish 101 and 102 into a semester. After a lot of stress and many hours practicing, I successfully completed the 2 classes I needed to fulfill my language requirements for UNC. However, I didn't feel ready to stop learning and expanding on my knowledge of Spanish and the world that I knew it embodied. While I was applying to colleges, I chose ones that offered established study abroad programs, and had always tossed with the idea of studying abroad in Spain. I felt like there was more that I could learn if I continued with Spanish, more that was waiting for me to discover. Even though I knew it would be hard and would require more work on my part, I decided to continue studying Spanish in the hopes I would find my path, either as a potential major, minor, or studying abroad. I remember talking with one of my friends on one of our walks back to South Campus, where all the freshmen dorm. She told me about a program she was doing over the summer, a 5-week program in Peru volunteering at medical clinics. Being a pre-medical student, I was intrigued by the thought of patient interaction, and even more compelled by the fact that I would be able to live amongst Spanish-speaking natives. In Peru, I lived with a homestay, where my family spoke entirely in Spanish. At first, it was frustrating. I could hardly understand. And let me tell you, the Peruvians have one difficult accent. But I continued. I did not give up, and I felt my Spanish marginally improve afterwards. It was my first time traveling outside of the United States, and I fell in love with the Peruvian culture, community, and I was able to interact with patients, learn about Peruvian food, family, culture, sports, and travel to the beautiful beaches, mountains, and the marvelous wonder, Machu Picchu. Flash forward to 1 year to my sophomore year. After my trip to Peru, I became involved with an organization on my campus to volunteer abroad in rural clinics during my spring break. I went to Nicaragua and was able to triage patients, which entailed communicating with the patients to prep them to see the doctor. During my sophomore year, I took 2 more semesters of Spanish, and when I was finally at the level of conversational Spanish, I realized that I was able to understand more and was able to empathize with the patients on a different level of understanding for what they were actually going through. Even though my stay in Nicaragua was short, I was severely impacted by the patients I was able to treat and their stories I was able to understand. My heart ached for this new world I felt more accepted in. Flash forward again to 1 year later. After my 2 previous abroad trips to Peru and Nicaragua, I knew without a doubt I had to study abroad for a semester. I studied in Barcelona my junior fall semester and lived with a homestay. My house mom, Antonia, was a spunky, charismatic, warm-hearted woman who treated me as her own granddaughter during my stay with her. She only knew a handful of words in English, so she forced me out of my comfort zone. Boy, did she love to talk, but that made me listen and communicate with her. In Barcelona, I took 3 classes in Spanish, 2 of which I was able to transfer over for credit for my minor. I discovered a passion for music and ended up taking another class on Spanish music after my return to UNC. I learned about the history of Barcelona, contemporary Barcelona, bullfighting, Spanish traditions, the passion behind Catalonia's drive for independence, women in Spain, the food, tortillas, patatas bravas, tapas, the culture, the importance of family, and so much more. I don't have enough time to adequately express my admiration for Barcelona and Spain, but what I can tell you is that I learned so much about myself, cultures, human compassion, and the world while I was abroad. It was truly a pivotal moment in my life that I will forever be thankful for. Now, flash forward to today, where I work in the emergency department at UNC hospitals, and I see Spanish-speaking patients daily with physicians. It's an indescribable feeling to be able to communicate with a patient and be able to treat them as an equal. When a physician can communicate with a patient in Spanish, in their own language, they're able to treat the patient more accurately and with compassion. If there's one thing I've learned through my studies of Spanish, it's that knowing another language brings so many opportunities. Having another tool in your toolbox allows you to open locked doors and break down previous barriers. My study of language has allowed me to quite literally travel the world, understand the significance of language and culture, know the true meaning of compassion, and realize that all humans, despite their native languages and differences, are humans that deserve the same treatment. Communication is the key to building a relationship, and being able to communicate with empathy and kindness for others is a basic building block of connections. By studying Spanish, I've learned about and observed the different living conditions in various parts of the world, and various cultures and ways of life. But above all, I've discovered realizations about myself and the world that I wouldn't have made if I had never pursued a Spanish education. Most people aren't willing to put in the needed effort to become proficient in a language. But you all, like myself, are not like most people. I want you all to know that even though learning Spanish might seem hopeless right now, know that all of your hard work will pay off in the end. And hopefully one day you will be like me, trying to gather your thoughts into a cohesive speech, attempting to grasp the profoundness your life choices have led you to. I would not be the person I am today if I did not take the initial leap of faith with pursuing my Spanish education. I know that my experiences have shaped my personality and outlooks on life, and I know that I'm a far better person because of it. So go on, go enroll in Spanish 3 and Spanish 4. Push yourself even if you think it's too hard. If Spanish is not your native tongue, it will be hard at first. Trust me. There will be moments you feel like you won't be able to do it. But trust me, you will be able to do it. In fact, if you persevere through your struggles, you can and will excel. Congratulations on this first step, and remember that one day this tool will help you discover a whole new world. A todos los estudiantes, felicidades! And thank you to all for letting me speak to you tonight.